Yo, what's going on, boys? Charlie here with another video, and today I'm going to be going over this USD JPY trade that I've taken on the 5-minute time frame using liquidity, supply, and demand. This trade actually made me eligible to pass two $100,000 phase one accounts with Alpha Capital Group. So I'll quickly, show proof of that, show proof that I took the trades, everything like that. But this was just a quick scalp for a 1 to 2. I'm going to show you guys a quick understanding of my strategy. Let's just hop on the charts. I'll show you guys pretty much everything you need to know about it. And yeah. All right, guys, here we are on the charts, and quickly I'm going to go over the core understanding of my strategy. I like to do this kind of with all my videos because I know I have new people that consistently come and watch my content. And if I'm talking about a trade and quickly going over, I took TP here, drew the zone this way, did this, did that, no one's ever really going to learn my strategy because I don't really, explain it. So just to give you guys a core understanding before we go into depth or anything like that, we're going to be trading this 5-minute time frame within trend. Okay, so we know that when markets are bullish like this, right, consistently under each of these lows, there's going to be a nice level of liquidity. Okay, now what we look to target within our trading strategy is we want to see price essentially take out a clear major low, right? And that's going to be a level of liquidity, and that's going to stop out, supply and demand traders, normal supply and demand traders entering from this point, right? And that's going to essentially put liquidity into the market, so then banks and institutions can, buy from cheaper levels, and we can manipulate these people's stop losses, right? We can just manipulate price. So that's just a very basic understanding of it, right? I can go really in depth, but I'm not going to right now. And we're essentially trading from a demand zone to the left. And when we see our entry candles, right, we don't want to see any candles close inside or anything like that. We want to see candles wicks come in and respect that zone. And after seeing our confirmation, which is a couple different entry models that I use, after we see our confirmation, that is when we will then long that position, and we will continue this bullish trend, right? That's the core understanding of it. Now, that is the most basic understanding. Again, this right here, what I'm showing you, is an entry model, okay? This is all an entry model. So that's going to get thrown at you a lot, especially when you're trading a lot of pairs, okay? That's going to get thrown at you a lot. So you have to be careful, and you have to understand when to trade it, when to not trade it. Now that, when to trade it, when to not trade it, is what I'm personally putting into my private community. As far as the YouTube goes, I just teach, I just go over the trade that I'm taking on the, essentially entry model level, right? I'm just not going super in depth. But let's quickly go over this UJ trade. So this trade, again, I have taken this with, as well as, a handful of other trades that have allowed me to pass phase one. I made 8% within 2 weeks, literally, which is crazy. But yeah, we can go into depth with how I targeted this TP on this trade. I'm not really going to go into too much depth here, but as you guys can see, clear highs, okay? This is a strong level of resistance. There's also another reason that, I'm not going to put into this YouTube video, but if we quickly go over this, here's our strategy, right? Our strategy is nice demand zone, right? And this is followed by a internal smaller level of liquidity, followed by price taking out its own high again, right? So we have this bullish trend intact, right? Now this, you guys might see as a bearish trend, zooming out and looking at it this way. You have all the right to think that, right? Some of the, stuff I use, points being the other direction, anyone can look at this, but the higher time frame, we're reacting kind of from a order block on, a higher time frame. So we know we're going to find support here, and we're going to get some internal bullish movement from it. So keeping that in mind is going to be, making me more prone to buys, as well as we have, clear level of resistance right here. We have, clear liquidity resting right there. So that is just, the simple understanding I can give you guys, right? I could really pick this chart apart, but I'm not going to on here. But let's talk about this trade, right? So this trade, fully knowing that this trade was one of those ones that I was a lot more confident in, rather than, even though this wasn't a high risk to reward, some people might have saw this massive entry By the way, this was a candle close entry, so what that means is once our first candle closes bullish, that is when we enter, right? I got a slightly better entry due to kind of slightly before it closed, it just kind of popped up a couple points there, or a couple pips there, but I got in, you know, right around there. But some people would see this and be like, yeah, that entry candle was way too big, and if I only want to target, you know, maybe these highs or something like that to the left, you know, I'm barely even going to get a 1 to 2. That's 100% understandable, right? But for me, there's outside reasons I took this trade that really caused me to be really confident in this trade setup. So I really wasn't necessarily worried about that, right? I took this trade fully knowing that I only wanted a 1 to 2 out of this. I did not want to target a 1 to 4. I did not want to target a 1 to 3. I wanted to target this specific level for a specific reason, okay? And that's all I wanted out of this trade, right? So that is another thing. Get in your trades understanding where you want to pre-target TP and why you want to pre-target TP. Why did I want to target a 1 to 2? I can give you guys, you know, some reasons. If I give you the simple reason, we're just going to say these highs right here, right? That's a simple reason. But, you know, if maybe UJ on a higher time frame is just continuously trending bullish or continuously trending bullish, then I can target a 1 to 4. You have to ask yourself why. Why target a 1 to 4? Well, I think, you know, higher time frame we're bullish, and you know, maybe we're gonna go, you know, just chase 1 hour new highs. I just think we're bullish, right? So that makes sense to target higher risk rewards. But internally, with price internally being bearish, we're reacting off a 1 hour order block, right? I know that there's a lot of resistance at these two highs right here, right? We got rejected 3 times. I'm only looking to take a 1 to 2. Now again, I'm giving you guys a real simple watered down version of why I'm taking, you know, TP right there. There's an actual in-depth reason, right? But again, I don't put a lot of that on YouTube just for a couple reasons. I talk about it in a couple other my videos as well. Yeah, I'm not gonna get too much in depth with that. But anyways, again, demand, we have a nice level of liquidity, price came down, swept that level of liquidity. We did not close inside the zone, right? We saw that nice wick rejection, and the second candle put in another bottom wick, and we got a lot of buying pressure came in, and then we entered this trade, right? We consolidated for about, I'd say about almost an hour, right? We built up some orders for about an hour, and that's when we finally got that expansion move, and we targeted that TP. Now, if I was greedy on this trade, and I was like, no, I'm going to target a 1 to 4, okay? Ask yourself, is this the best time to target a 1 to 4? Not really at all, okay? If you target a 1 to 4, what would have happened? You would have gotten stopped out. Okay, so this is a prime example of literally taking TP to a T for a reason. Again, not getting super into specifics why that reason, but this is just an example of anyone watching this video that trades liquidity supply and demand knows that I found, statistically speaking, 1 to 4s make more P&L year over year compared to something like 1 to 2s or 1 to 3s. But it's not going to make more if you don't know when to use them correctly, right? If I'm nonstop taking 1 to 4s in every single position, my win rate's going to be horrible. Whereas I know what positions to kind of, you know, take a 1 to 2 on, maybe a 1 to 3 on, and then I know what positions to actually take a 1 to 4 on. That's when you can capitalize on both making a lot more P&L and both keeping your win rate really, really high. That's what I found within my testing. And I went back and kind of revised a lot of my back testing to that is, you know, target specific levels. You know, not every trade is 1 to 4 quality, I should say, right? That's kind of the base ordinary TP structure for my strategy is target a 1 to 4. Not every trade's 1 to 4 quality, in my opinion. So that's that setup. Again, if we want to go over it one more time, right? Again, the core understanding is price is trending in a certain direction and there's liquidity under these lows. We want to see price take out our most recent high And we want to see price come down and take out a level of liquidity, which is going to be a higher low in a bullish trend. We want to see price react from a demand level. We don't want to see it close inside our demand zone at all, right? And we want to see our entry candle come into play. And once we have that, that is when we're going to be long on the position, right? So that's kind of a core understanding of that strategy, and you kind of seen that just play out to a T. Now, other things involve in this strategy, right? It's not just, you know, this, just look for this. Anytime you see this, enter the trade. Unfortunately, that's how it's taught by mostly all of these mentors in the liquidity supply and demand space, and it's taught wrong. It should not be taught that way, right? But yeah, that's pretty much it for this one, boys. I just quickly wanted to go over that. Quickly wanted to go over, you know, passing phase one with this trade, and yeah, we're gonna push on to phase two, hopefully pass that as well, and get funded, you know. So it's been a long journey with this liquidity supply and demand, but you know, I found concepts that work for me to pair with this liquidity supply and demand that I literally don't even show on YouTube, like, at all. Literally no one knows. If you think you know, you don't know. And I've been just keeping on the low, making sure, you know, it's working. I've had this, you know, I've back tested this stuff for years. I know, me personally, I know it works. I know it works live market because this is the best I've ever been trading for the last 3 months, realistically. And yeah, I'm just kind of waiting for this stuff to come into fruition, you know, pass these accounts, get payouts, and I eventually do want to teach people exactly what concepts I'm using and how to trade, you know, the liquidity supply and demand entry model. So that's pretty much it for this one, boys. If you have any questions, just comment below. You know, it's currently what, March 16th. I don't know when this video will go public, but yeah, February was, and this is a prime example, February was a very big losing streak for a lot of traders. I said this a couple times in all my other videos. February was a pretty big losing streak for a lot of liquidity supply and demand traders, right? Not everyone, but I would say at least 99% of people, okay? And I was able to sit there with the concepts that I used, and I was able to cut out all of these losses. I literally cut out all of these losses. I took 2 trades and they were both break even. And as slow as that felt in February, that is probably the proudest like I've ever traded, because that skipping losses, I would argue, is a lot more skillful than just kind of blindly taking positions, and a position does end up hitting TP, right? I have specific reasons I was skipping those losses. I was recording videos why I was skipping those losses and where price would target, and every single time I was dead on. So that is, you know, my proudest month. And you know, it sucked because it was like really, really slow. March came around and already, you know, it was just in 2 weeks, you just instantly passed phase one like that fast. And it's just interesting how, shout out Jay Trades, actually. I'm pretty sure he posted a video, something about trading isn't linear. And there's a few different meanings you can get by that. But one thing I think of definitely is, you know, trading isn't linear in the fact of you can't put more work into it for it to play out, right? You can't do that. You have to be patient with your setups. That's one thing, right? But that kind of also shows that, like, 1 month, you can have the driest period ever, right? And that next month, you could hammer in positions, right? And that's essentially what we're seeing with February and March, right? Now, I can sit there and be like, cool, across these 2 months, I made X amount, and that sounds fine. But when you really break it down, you realize how slow a month can be, how fast a month can be, how, you know, same thing with weekly, right? 1 week I could lose 2 or 3%. That next week I can make 10% in a week, and vice versa, right? And back and forth. And, you know, you longevity, or you put that out into longevity, and you realize, okay, you know, this makes sense looking at it from the outside. But when you're in those slow months like that, like especially February, it was really, really hard. And March comes around, and it's just like boom, instantly, you know, 3 trades, all this stuff, you know, happens. Like NASDAQ, I took a 1 to 4. This position I took the day after, 1 to 2. Like there was just 6% in 2 days, and it was just like, I just went through the entire month of February and I took 2 break-even trades because there's no setups, and you're telling me I just made 6% in 2 days. Like it almost seems like it doesn't make sense, but that's how it is. That's how it's always been with backtesting data as well, right? I've had years of backtesting data on this type of stuff. So it's definitely very interesting when you put it into perspective like that. So, I don't know what to expect, right? Next week of March, we could have no trades. We could have a losing trade, right? And that's fine. We could have 1 or 2 losing trades. Or we could have, a great week, or we could just have a slow rest of the March. I don't know, right? So I'm just sitting here casually, literally, and if I see a setup I like, I'll act upon it. If I don't, then I don't. I don't care. I know this stuff will work out in the long run, and I'm just sitting here pretty much perfecting my craft every single day, studying on this stuff, and letting the trades come to me, not trying to chase anything. And that's kind of really how I found the most improvement within my trading. It's the best I'm currently trading, especially the last 3 months, pretty much start of 2026. So yeah, just a side note there for you guys, especially with this strategy, right? I know a lot of people will try to promote these fake results in the LSD space. A lot of these mentors will try to, get their $2,000 course sales from you, saying 90% win rate or crazy percentages in a month. It's not realistic in that sense, right? It's realistic that the strategy is very good in my opinion if it's used correctly. But again, it's a lot of cherry pick results out there, and it's like that with every strategy. You guys see all these, a lot of these big guys are actually getting exposed recently, which is really, really funny because, people watching and it's like, oh wow, they're trading, they're taking 1 to 3s every single day, they must be making so much. And then it's like 2 months later they get exposed and you're like, well, that strategy doesn't work, that strategy doesn't work. This is the realest strategy I found that works very, very well, and it's not unrealistic at all. It's not these unrealistic numbers that people are promoting for course sales or anything like that. This is the most realistic strategy I've found, and it's working great for me. So I'm gonna keep trading it. So just a side note there. I know I was kind of rambling a little bit, but that's pretty much it for this one video. If you guys have any questions, please comment, subscribe. I appreciate it. And I'm gonna keep on putting these videos out. I'm gonna keep on giving you guys weekly recaps, keep on giving you trade updates, trade recaps, anything like that. But yeah, that's pretty much it, boys, and I'll see you guys on the next one.